So just as she's about to leave, she turns off the light and she sees what is definitely her dead mother standing in the shadows in the corner. So then she turns the light back on and her mom's gone now. She's like, Mom? And then she's like, oh, look at that diorama. That's not right. She walks over to one of the dioramas and she turns it around. If you saw someone that just died, you would leave the room. You wouldn't go into the room. You probably wouldn't go into the room for a while. Maybe during the day, and even then, you'd be looking in that corner. So she goes and lays in bed with her husband. And she says, I just scared myself in the workshop. He says, with what? She doesn't tell him. And then they kind of chuckle and she just kisses him goodnight. Imagine your significant other coming to bed and saying, I just scared myself in the workshop. And you say, with what? And they just sit there looking disturbed. And then they smile. And then they kiss you on the cheek and they go to bed. Would you be laughing? What's funny right now? So then cut to Charlie, and she's in class. And all the kids are taking a test. But she's not. She's working on one of her little craft toys. Charlie likes to make little crafts, little toys, out of just garbage in compost. The teacher walks up behind her and says, are you done? Charlie says, almost. And the teacher says, maybe we finish the toy after the quiz. What do you think? Charlie says, okay. Then, a bird flies into the window. Outside with Christine, a bird smashes into and shatters the car window. Inside the house, Drew sees a bird smash through the window. A bird smashes through one of the basement windows. What do the birds have to do with anything? They never explain that. When the bird hits the window, it's a big loud thud. Everyone reacts, except Charlie. Instead, Charlie looks at the scissors. So that's not good. So now cut to Peter in class. We hear the teacher say,
what is Heracles' law?
And as he says this, we see Peter is looking at a girl's butt. So I guess that's Peter's fatal flaw. So the camera pans up, and the girl's hand is raised. She says arrogance. The teacher says, why? She says,
he literally refuses to look at all the signs that are being literally handed to him the entire play.
So, Peter and the other members of the family, maybe even us, who fuck knows, who cares? They aren't seeing the signs that are being handed to them throughout the entire movie, including this, including what's happening right now. So then Peter's phone buzzes pretty loudly.
So he thinks he has control.
And he checks it right away, like he wants to get caught. The message says, want to smoke a bullet break? Fair enough. But the other messages say, workin', want to twirl around later? Sure. Let me just finish waxing my D. Good luck. Send pics. Turns out this message is coming from his friend, who's sitting right fucking next to him. And he gives his friend a thumbs up. So then the teacher finally notices Peter's still looking down at his phone. I guess him and Charlie inherited the gene that makes you forget you're in fucking class right now. So the teacher asks Peter if he cares to weigh in.
Care to weigh in, Peter?
About which part?
The teacher stares at him, pissed. And then for no reason at all, some mystery girl just starts answering the question.
I think it's more tragic because
Maybe her name's Peter, too. The girl in front of Peter turns around and looks at him. She gives him a look. I don't know what the look is supposed to mean. Is she annoyed? Is she attracted to him? It's not like he said something cool or funny. And he just stares at her like a goon. Now, I'm going to get ahead of myself a little bit here. But just so you know now, the girl that Peter is attracted to, possibly the teacher, possibly his friend that texted him, and also possibly, like most of the other characters in this movie, they're all part of the cult. They're all in on it. And it seems like they're really trying to tip off Peter to what's happening, which they never explain why. Like, why would they be talking about what they're doing? They do this a lot. Throughout the movie, all these people that are supposedly part of the cult or part of this ritual, they're constantly doing dumb shit or like tipping off the characters to like, hey, we're summoning a demon right now. You're gonna die. Next scene. The bird that flew into the window earlier is laying dead on a bush. Charlie is standing in front of it, eating a chocolate bar again. Something about standing in front of dead things just makes her crave chocolate. She takes the scissors from class, she cuts off the bird's head, and then she puts the head and the scissors back in her pouch. So she's having a good day. She turns around, takes another bite of chocolate, and she sees some lady. Just some nice looking lady standing across the road, looking at her. The lady kind of waves and the scene ends. When she sees this lady, Charlie's face and the music cues to us that this is like creepy. But it's completely backwards. Because imagine you're just some nice lady on a walk on a nice day, and you see a kid at school cut the head off a dead bird, turn around and look at you, and then take a bite out of a chocolate bar. It'd be fucking terrifying. So cut to a shot of the computer in the mom's workshop. She gets up and walks out of her workroom. She pauses, and then she walks towards some other room. She sees a big triangle drawn on the floor. It's pointing northwest, because northwest is the direction that you summon Paimon from. I don't know how the fuck anyone would pick up on that watching this movie. One, you'd have to know who the fuck Paimon is. You'd have to know that you summon him from the northwest. You'd have to be paying enough attention to the house and the direction of the sun outside to know that that triangle is pointing northwest. So this is the room that her mom was staying in. And clearly, she was doing some ritual in there to summon Paimon. She goes downstairs and she asks Steve if he went in there. He says no. And she says that the door was open. So I guess this is creepy, but they never established that the door is supposed to be closed. That would have been nice, right? If we knew that the door was supposed to be closed, then it would be creepy to see that it's suddenly open. So that cuts to Steve and Annie locking the door to her mom's room. The mom says, sorry, I know this is irrational. The dad says, no problem. They both chuckle and then they kiss each other on the cheek. So it's not a big deal. But there should be more to this conversation, right? Because if it wasn't one of them, then they must be assuming that one of their kids is going to the dead grandmother's room. But they don't bring it up ever. So Peter walks up with a landline phone. Because you know, teenage boys with cell phones tend to answer the house landline. He says, hey Dad, it's the cemetery.
It's the cemetery.
About what?
Let me see.
The mom hears this and isn't nearly as interested as she should be. The dad walks out of earshot and he's like, what? Desecrated? What does that mean? The mom walks back into frame. She's putting a coat on. She says, what was it? And he lies.
Just some billing crap.
When you're watching it, it makes sense, right? You don't want to tell someone that their mother's grave was desecrated. But other than her being weirded out by the door to her mom's room being open, she's been pretty okay. When they got home from the funeral, she asked him, should I feel sadder? And he was like, no. She didn't tell him what she saw in her workroom. And even with the open door thing and asking him to lock it, she even kind of laughs and says, I know it's irrational. And he doesn't tell her later. Is there going to be a point in your relationship where she finds out that you knew that her mother's grave was desecrated and you never told her?
Do you think I could maybe borrow one of the cars tonight?
Why?
When the teacher says, are you done? In like a nice way, she's spooked by that. But when a fucking bird flies into the window, that doesn't register at all. So I guess it's implied that she summoned the bird or knew the bird was going to hit the window. They never really explain it. I guess Paimon, he has bird features like bird legs, so I guess they're just going to throw birds in here sometimes.